All right, today what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to learn how to use a tool that's called, that's known as layer masking. And with a layer mask, what you can do is you can create an image like this that you see in front of you. When you look at this picture, this is actually 7 or 8 different photos overlaying one on top of the other. And then what you do is you use the layer mask to control what part of the image the viewer sees. So you can customize it. If I open the layer menu up, off there on the lower left hand side, you can see that there's all these pictures, and then next to several of them is another box that's either black and white, or some of them are more black than white. That's actually the layer mask. So we're going to learn how to do that. To show you that, I'm going to start over with a new file. So I'm going to go back and start new, checking to make sure it says iPad. I'm hitting transparent so that I get a clear background, and I hit create. So here's my workspace. So I'm going to start by just importing all these photos that I've collected over the years, and I'm going to pick Kim Jong-un because, just going political this way, pretty much he's fair game. Nobody really gets mad if you make a project out of him. So I have his picture up here in my file. That's the one. It's importing it, right? I'm going to actually resize it by editing, transform the layer, move, scale, rotate, and I want to make it large enough so that it fills the area. He's going to be the basis for this whole project, and I'm going to fill the space around him by adding in other pictures. So let me just add them all in, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So I go insert as a layer from photos, and I'm going to choose, I have a photo here of, it's coming up. Sorry, I have a lot of photos. I've been collecting lots of things over the years. So I want this one of a missile launch. Okay, I'm going to pick another picture, import as a layer from photos, and this one should be looking. Like I said, lots of stuff here. I want this photo of, this is actually a photograph of a flower. I'm going to use that later as kind of an overlay, so that'll all make sense shortly. And, oh, no, that's the wrong thing. I didn't want that, so I'm going to back up, get rid of that. Import as a layer from photos. Tap the wrong picture, so I'm looking. I got, where is it? It's coming. This one, North Korean soldiers marching, and I'm going to pick another one. I have a nuclear bomb blast from the original nuclear tests. That is right about here. And right now I'm just going to stick with that and see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to go back through the layer menu here, and I'm going to start just turning these layers off, and I'll turn them on as needed. So the first one I'm going to start off with is I'm going to start off with this rocket layer. And what I want to do is I'm going to turn that layer on by tapping it, and I'm going to edit it so, because really what I want is I want the glowing rocket trail. That's what I want. So I'm going to transform this so that it's over on the left-hand side. I think that's like a nice frame for the Kim Jong-un picture. So I'm going to hit apply. So that's in the position I want. But notice now I can't see Kim Jong-un's face. I want to see that. I want it to look like the two photos blend one into the other. So what I'm going to do is go to the layer menu, and looking at the bottom of the layer menu, there's a box with a circle in it. I'm going to tap that. That's the layer menu, and it gives you choices. You can show everything, you can hide everything, pick whichever one works best for you. I'm going to say show it all, and a white box shows up next to it. That white box then is a tool, and that tool you can use to then just to show only parts of that picture, to hide other parts and let other parts show through. So to do that, what I want to do is I want to use the spray can off on the left-hand side, and I'm going to choose black in my color palette, and then making sure that that box is highlighted, what I want to do is go through and I'm going to start to paint. And when I do that, I start to fade that image out. So I really want to get that edge, fade that down so you can't see it. So now you have the rocket contrail and Kim Jong-un, they're together. One fades right into the other. So if you decide that well, let me look at the layer menu here. When you look at the layer menu, you see that it's half white, half black, and then there's some gray in the middle. The white is revealing that picture. So whatever's in white, you're gonna see. Whatever's in black is gonna be hidden. Whatever's in gray is gonna be kind of faded, right? So I got a nice transition there. If I faded too much, then I can go back, tap white, and I can paint it back in, and it fills it all back in. You start to see that. If you look at the color, if you look at the layer menu, you see that layer mask is now mostly white, right? So I'm gonna go back and darken it again with black. This tool only works with black and white. That's all it does. And there you go. So now you have two layers blending together. I'm gonna add another, get that involved. I'm going to drag the soldiers marching down and turn that on. Okay, so I like this picture. I think it would be cool to frame the lower edge of the photo with this picture. And I'm going to do a similar technique. Obviously use the layer mask again, but just a little differently this time. I want to start though by moving it into position. So I'm going to highlight that layer. I am going to then transform it. Move, scale, rotate, drag it down. I want it to be lower in the frame. I'm gonna hit apply. And again, it covers up all that stuff that I just did. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna hit the layer mask. And this time, rather than telling it to show all, I'm gonna hide everything by tapping the button. And you notice that now the layer mask is all in black. So what I've told, that tool now is telling the iPad to hide everything in this layer. Show nothing from it. Okay, so in this situation, I'm going to go back and select white and the spray can. And what I'm going to do is start to paint this back on, and you see the soldiers start to appear, right? The more I paint, the more white I add, the darker the soldiers become, right? I might go back with black and soften the edge a little bit because I'm covering a little too much of the rocket contrail. I might soften around Kim Jong-un's face because I want to make that clear. I'm going to, with the white, I'm going to shrink the tool down a little bit so that I'm adding, not totally covering his mouth, but only partially, right? And just fine tuning it until I get exactly what I want. I want some of his shoulder coming through, and you notice that it just makes subtle little changes. So that's what in the layer menu here, you can see most of this has been hidden. It's covered in black. The stuff that you're seeing is what's in white. If I was to turn the layer mask off by hitting the eyeball next to it, you'd see this is the original. This is what the layer mask does. So if I do the same thing with the first layer I had edited, that's without the layer mask. This is with it. So looking at this, I'm going to keep on going. This time I want to use the nuclear explosion, and I'm going to drag that down just because I like to keep things organized. And I want to enlarge this picture because I want it to fill more of the space. So I'm going to go Edit, Transform Layer, Move, Scale, Rotate, and make it larger. I'm going to hit Apply. Right, it's covering everything. So what I want to do is use a layer mask, and I want to show the stuff. I want to hide the bottom part of this picture so you can see what's underneath it. So I'm going to tell it to show all. But I'm going to come back with black, and I'm going to start painting to hide details from this layer. So start over with Kim Jong-un, and I'm going to fade that edge so you can only see a little bit of the nuclear mushroom cloud there. You start to see the soldiers underneath there. I'm going to fade it some more. I want to make sure I get that rocket contrail, so I'm going to bring that up and hide that part. So I want the mushroom cloud to be just kind of barely visible there. And if I take too much, switch to white, see how it comes back. I want to reveal too much, so I'm going to hide it again by fine tuning it, right? And when you look, that's what that layer, so this is without the layer mask. This is with the layer mask. So now what you're getting is you're getting a composite picture where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of active photo content, but it's arranged in a way where you can see a little bit from each layer through to the top. Right, so the next thing I want to try is, this is actually old stuff, but just to show you how you can mix some of these techniques, what I want to do here is this is that flower up close, that close-up picture of a flower that I had showed you earlier in class. I'm going to take that, edit it, transform, move, scale, rotate, and I'm going to make it, see, I'm making a mistake, I'm in the wrong layer. So I'm going to go back, make sure I turn on the right layer, hit edit, transform layer, move, scale, rotate. There we go. And yesterday I showed you guys how to change the blending mode. So where it says normal, I'm going to tap that, and I'm going to try some of these other blending modes: darken, burn, subtract. Basically looking around, trying to find the one that I think looks most interesting. This one is pretty cool. I might experiment around with the slider. Right now it's at 100%. I might tone it down to see how that looks, so you get kind of a faint image. Right, starting to come together. I don't know. You just experiment and see what works. I might add in something else, kind of random, see if it works. Let's try importing as a layer from photos. I have this cool picture, actually. It's kind of random, but it is a picture of a dandelion close-up. There it is. So I'm going to bring that in. All right, now it looks kind of random and all that stuff, but if we enlarge it, I want it to kind of overlap. To me, I know it's a dandelion, but it kind of looks like almost explosive, the way the different shoots kind of radiate out from the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use a blending mode to see if we can use that feature to complement the picture we already have here. So tapping around, looking for whichever option works best. That one looks kind of cool. That one's covering a lot. You can always do this and then try the slider. What happens when you do that? Right, if I decide I want to move it around, maybe I transform it, make it larger. Move it in a different direction, maybe have it go from the bottom up. I mean, pretty much you can do whatever you like with this, right? You just kind of try things out, and then when things start to look the way you think it should, you leave it. There's no penalty for trying. It doesn't cost you anything. So looking at this option the way I have it here, I might try a different blending mode too. That's pretty cool. So looking at this here, if you need a 10 layer, you have a 10 layer assignment. In this file alone, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers that I've added. I can also go back and start doing things like, long ago I found a graphic that I think fits. We're talking nuclear explosions, nuclear missiles, right? That's what people are worried about, right? So I'm going to go choose the fallout shelter sign. Seems like it fits, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move that, make it larger, and leave it like so. Then what I'll do is I'm going to try to change the blending mode, see how it affects things. So trying different options, looking for something that looks good. You don't want to get too chaotic though. You don't want it to cover too much up. So looking at this, I'm not sure, I haven't really found the magic look yet, right? I might try maybe lighten, overlay. Overlay is pretty nice. What I can do too is then do a combination of things. I could use that layer mask to hide that edge, that hard edge here. So tapping the layer mask, this time I'm going to tell it to hide everything, and notice it disappeared, right? So with white, then I'm going to go back, I'm going to paint what I want to see back into existence. So let's turn that up a little bit, make it a little larger so it happens faster. And I just bring it in, right? So I got a little bit of a hard edge there on the right next to shelter, so I'm going to go enlarge it and soften that. Make the tool smaller because I don't want that hard edge. Right, so you start getting kind of a composite look there. So if you were to look around, like everything's all related, it all goes back to North Korea, nuclear bombs and missiles and things like that, and Kim Jong-un, their leader, right? So, and it's just putting together a whole bunch of stuff. So now this obviously doesn't need to be political or anything like that. It could be whatever you want, but this is just an example of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layer project right now. I need 3 additional layers and I've hit the minimum requirement. So that's all I have for you today, and that's it.